So everything's going to stay. It's not going to scrape off. Now I'm painting the pink over the blue, so obviously I'm going to need a couple coats. Not a lot, but a couple, just like I did with the regular on the blue, the regular part. And don't worry if it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Actually, it's better if it's not perfect. Okay, and you do that all the way down over your entire crown. Oh, and there was one thing I wanted to tell you. You never want to have your crown around extreme heat because you used E6000. So if you want to dry it more quickly and you don't have a fan, you can use a blow dryer. But don't use it on the hot heat because it'll loosen your glue that you've been waiting so patiently for 24 hours to dry. Okay, so I did my little ovals. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do the whole base and the rose. And like I said, don't worry if it gets on the blue. I'm just going to come back and do it again and again, as many times as we need to. We're going to do touch-up. Now, I was really generous with the paint on the rose because I wanted it kind of gloppy, kind of thick. That's why you want to have a blow dryer or a fan to help it dry. Now, I just kind of messed up, but down on the very bottom of your rose on the inside, you don't want paint. You really don't, because we're going to be using E6000 on that to put our rhinestones in there. If you want to put your rhinestones in there, you don't have to. So I'm going to do the entire base of the crown in pink. Don't worry if it gets on the edges. It's fine. We're going to eventually paint the back of this base and these edges gray, if you want to. I can be kind of bossy, as you guys can probably tell. I think it's because I was a nanny for 20 years. And so, you know, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. You can do it any way you want. This is your crown. You can omit whatever you want. You can add if you have your own brass stampings. If you are lucky enough to see Diana, broke jewels all the time. Either she sells at the Tustin Marketplace for Whimsy. She sells all the time at the Urban Barn, street fairs, Linda's Barn. Linda, who I love. And, you know, you can even add to what I have. You can add more roses. You can add more bases. And like I said, I'm going to be selling just this part, these kind of bases, so that you guys can make even more of your own crowns. And you can buy more and different roses and flowers from Diana once a month at the Vintage Marketplace. Or, oh no, I think Rita and Christy Rapizzi, I think their Vintage Marketplace is once every 3 months, but Diana's always there as well. And she always has new brass stampings and flowers and rosary chain. I mean, you could add rosary chain to this. It would be beautiful, you know, hanging, and the possibilities really are endless of what you can do. All right, so I'm going to let my base dry in the pink, and then I'm probably going to give it another coat or two. And when that's done, we'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so now that you have all your roses and whatever parts that you happen to want pink done, don't worry, they're a mess, but that's okay. We're going to go and we're going to do our gray. We're going to do the back. We're going to do the back in this base gray. So you want to make sure that you get the whole thing done, including these pieces in the back, because you just want it to be all flush. You want it to just kind of match up, because when your crown is sitting there, you're going to see it. You're going to see the back of your crown. So you want to paint the back of your crown just as nice as you're painting the front portions of your crown that you can see on the outside. I just paint it straight across. Now again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm kind of mental, because if things aren't perfect, then I get a little upset with myself, where I don't necessarily see it with other people and their work, but I think it's maybe because I don't have any control in my life personally, so I kind of am anal when it comes to my work, and if it's not good enough, I'll usually throw it in the trash, which is kind of an issue. So you guys do whatever you want, but it really is a good thing to kind of have the inside be just as nice as the outside. And where you have all of your ugly soldering that I did, it's really kind of camouflaged. You can't see it anymore. So we're going to do the back. Sorry, I had the paintbrush on my mouth. We're going to do the back. And then I did the edges as well in the front. Use a smaller brush for that. Doesn't have to be perfect, because remember, we're going to come back with the wax over it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It's supposed to be old. We're just pretending here. So when you guys have finished all of the gray, as many coats as you want, we're going to come back and we're going to do the next step. So you guys just continue on. Okay, now we've got everything painted. Don't worry, it looks really flat and looks like it's a baby nursery, but don't worry, it's going to look better. So we've got everything painted, but it's still a mess. I mean, if you're like me, it's a mess. So I'm going to go back with my light blue, and I'm just going to go with a smaller, flatter brush, angled, and I'm just going to go underneath the roses and their petals, just around it, so that it cleans it up right around there. I'm going to do that on all the roses because I did make a mess. Once that's all done, we're going to, again, have some patience, go do something else for 30 minutes, 20 minutes unless you've got a fan on, where it's about 5 minutes. But you want your paint to be completely dry. You don't want any paint that is dry on the surface and then underneath it, because when I did my roses, I really glopped on the pink because I want it gloppy. So that does take a long time to dry. So you want to make sure that your roses, if you were like me, I just like that look of the glopped up, thick-looking paint. To me it looks old once we're going to wax it. You can see inside of here, it's kind of gloppy. the way I've done it. Gloppier the better, I say. Okay, so we're going to let our touch-up dry. And once that's dry, we're going to come back and we're going to use our red. Now what we're going to do is we've painted everything. We've used all our pink and our gray and our pale blue. And now we're going to come back in, and there's little tiny raised dots around these ovals. I came in and I made them red. I highlighted them in red. You can do all the big dots too. You can do whatever you want. I mean, you can bring out any of the raised parts for more detail. It's just whatever you prefer. Now, I'm going to use a pencil. A lot of people will use a fine tip artist brush, but I like to use a pencil. To me, it's like I don't have to worry about the brushes, you know, separating or anything. And all I do is, like I'm drawing, I just come in there. To me, it's the best. It's the finest. Because you just want the tiniest red detail. I mean, you might want it to be a lot of red, but I just wanted it tiny. And I really love the red contrast with the blue. I think it's so sweet. And I think it's a little French looking. It's a step away from your standard neutrals. And so you guys saw how I did that. It was really easy. You can also go back and, like I said, you can do the larger ovals if you want. But I'm just going to do these. I just want it as simplistic as possible. Like I said, just the tiniest detail. And if you use a brush, you risk having the fine tip brush separate. And I don't like that. So there you have it. And you just do it all the way around your entire crown. I'm just doing this one portion to teach you guys what to do. And you can do this all the time. You can do this. I've done bracelets, picture frames, everything. You can do everything using this technique. Brass is no longer just to be darkened or have a different plating on it. I love it. Makes me happy. Alright guys, I'm going to have to clean that up. So you go ahead and you do your entire thing or whatever else you want to highlight on the brass, and when that's all dry, we're going to come back and we're going to start our waxing technique. Alright, it's time to wax. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the natural wax. I'm going to use a little paintbrush with an angle. And we're going to do sections at a time. You don't want to do the whole thing at once. And I'm going to go in on the roses. I'm not going to go all into the inside of the rose in the center, but I'm going to go in between the petals. So I want to get this wax in there. And I'm going to do it to all the little roses. But remember, we're only going to do sections at a time. We're not going to do the whole thing and then come back, because this wax will dry up, this paste wax.